Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. Well, today we're tackling something that's absolutely essential for any website that wants to be seen online, technical SEO.
Technical SEO, the foundation of a successful website.
Exactly. It's like if you build a house on a shaky foundation, no matter how pretty it looks, it's not going to last. And it's the same with your website. You can have amazing content, beautiful design, but if the technical SEO isn't there,
It's all for nothing. Search engines won't be able to find you, users will have a bad experience, and your rankings will suffer. It's like, throwing a party but forgetting to send out the invitations.
perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So let's start with the very first step, making sure Google can actually find and understand your website. We're talking about crawling and indexing.
Right. Crawling is basically Google's way of exploring your website, following links to discover all the pages. And indexing is like Google taking notes on what it finds, adding those pages to its massive database so it can show them in search results.
So how do we make sure Google gets the right invitations to our party? I mean, the right information about our website.
One of the key tools is your XML sitemap. Think of it as like a roadmap for Google, listing all the important pages on your site and telling Google, hey, here's what you should check out.
Okay, so the sitemap's like our invitation list. But what about controlling who gets access to what? Like, are there any areas we want to keep off limits to Google?
Absolutely. That's where your robots.txt file comes in. It's like the bouncer at your party, controlling which parts of your site search engines can and can't crawl. So you might want to block access to pages that are under development or pages with sensitive information.
So we've sent out the invitations with our sitemap, and we've got our bouncer, robots.txt, in place. How do we know if Google's actually showing up to the party? I mean, are they actually indexing our pages?
Right. Well, Google gives us an amazing tool for that. It's called Google Search Console. It's a free service that provides a ton of data about how Google sees your site. You can see if there are any crawling errors. You can check your index coverage to see which pages are indexed and which aren't. And you can even submit new URLs for indexing manually.
So it's like checking the guest list at the door, seeing who made it in.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, now that Google can find us, let's talk about making sure they like what they see. And one of the biggest factors there is, of course, site speed.
Oh, absolutely. No one likes a slow website. In fact, Google has said that site speed is a significant ranking factor.
Makes sense. If a website takes forever to load, people are just going to give up and go somewhere else.
Exactly. So what can we do to speed things up? Well, one of the easiest wins is image optimization. Images are often the biggest culprits when it comes to slow loading times.
Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of using those massive high-resolution images without even thinking about how they affect load time.
We've all been there. But luckily, there are some simple tools that can help. Tiny PNG, for example, is a great one. You can just drag and drop your images, and it'll compress them without sacrificing too much quality.
It's like squeezing all the air out of a balloon. It gets much smaller but still does the job. What about other things we can do to speed up the site? I've heard of caching, but I'm not really sure what that means.
Caching is a fantastic way to boost site speed. Think of it like this. Let's say you have a bunch of appetizers at your party, right? Instead of the waiter having to run back to the kitchen every time someone wants one, they keep a few readily available on their tray. That's caching. It basically stores copies of your website's files so they can be delivered to visitors much faster.
Okay, so it's like having snacks readily available. Are there any other tricks that work in a similar way?
Definitely. There's something called gzip compression, which basically shrinks your website's files before sending them to the visitor's browser. Think of it like zipping up a file before you email it. Makes it much smaller and faster to download.
Right, so that's like packing everything efficiently for easier transport. And I've also heard of CDNs, content delivery networks, but I'm a bit fuzzy on how those work.
Yeah, CDNs are really cool. They're basically networks of servers located all around the world. So when someone visits your website, the CDN will deliver the content from the server that's closest to them geographically. This reduces the distance the data has to travel, which makes everything load faster.
So it's like having party favors stashed all over the globe so everyone gets one super quickly.
Exactly. And then there's minifying. Now, this one gets a little more technical, but it's basically the process of removing all the unnecessary characters from your website's code. Think of it like decluttering your closet. You're getting rid of all the extra stuff you don't need to make things more streamlined.
So it's like tidying up behind the scenes, making the website run more efficiently.
Exactly.
Great. Now let's move on to something that's become absolutely essential in today's world. Mobile friendliness.
Oh, yeah. This is huge. Most people are browsing the web on their phones these days, so if your website isn't mobile friendly, you're alienating a huge portion of your potential
It's
audience.
like having a party in a tiny closet no one can move around or have any fun.
Right. And Google knows this too. They prioritize mobile-friendly websites in their rankings. So what does it mean to be mobile-friendly? Well, one of the most important aspects is responsive design.
Responsive design.
Yeah, responsive design means that your website automatically adjusts to look good on any screen size, whether it's a tiny phone, a tablet, or a huge desktop monitor.
So it's like a chameleon adapting to its surroundings.
Mm.
Is there a way to check how mobile-friendly our site is?
Absolutely. Google offers a free tool called the Mobile Friendly Test. You just plug in your URL, and it tells you if your site passes the test or not. It'll even give you specific recommendations on how to improve.
That's super helpful. Okay, now let's shift gears and talk about something that's essential for any website, but especially important if you're handling sensitive information: website security.
Security is crucial. It's like having a VIP party at your house. You want to make sure that only the invited guests get in and that everything is safe and secure.
Exactly. No party crashers allowed. So how do we make sure our website is a secure environment for our visitors?
Well, one of the most important things is having an SSL certificate. This encrypts the data that's transmitted between your website and your visitors' browsers. You can tell if a website has an SSL certificate if you see a little padlock icon next to the URL in the address bar.
So it's like a security guard checking IDs at the door, making sure everything is legit.
Exactly. And Google actually gives a ranking boost to websites that use HTTPS, which is the secure version of HTTP.
So it's good for both security and SEO. What else can we do to beef up our website's security?
Keeping your software updated is super important. Think of it like installing the latest security system in your home. Those software updates often include patches for vulnerabilities that could be exploited by hackers. And you'll also want to make sure you're using a reputable hosting provider with strong security measures in place.
Okay, so we've got our SSL certificate, our software is up to date, and we're using a secure hosting provider. Anything else we should be thinking about?
Well, a firewall is a great addition to your security arsenal. It acts as a barrier between your website and the outside world, blocking any malicious traffic.
So it's like having a big, strong wall around your property to keep out any unwanted visitors.
Precisely.
Awesome. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about crawling, indexing, site speed, mobile friendliness, and security. But we're just getting started. There's so much more to explore in the world of technical SEO.
Absolutely. We've just laid the foundation. Now we can start building on top of that.
Exactly.
It really is. Like I
Yeah.
was saying, technical SEO is the foundation of it all. You know, you could have the most amazing content in the world, but if your website is slow, difficult to navigate, or not secure.
It's like inviting people to a party and then making them wait outside in the rain, right?
Exactly. So let's talk about some more specific things we can do to make sure our websites are technically sound and ready to rank.
Perfect. One thing that always trips me up is URL structure. You know, I see some websites with these crazy long URLs full of random numbers and symbols. It's like, what is even going on there?
Yeah, those are definitely not user-friendly, and honestly, they're not search engine-friendly either. Search engines use URLs to understand what a page is about. So if your URL is a jumbled mess, it's going to be harder for them to figure things out.
So how can we make sure our URLs are clear and easy for both humans and search engines to understand?
Well, first of all, keep them relatively short and concise. No one wants to type in a novel-length URL.
Right.
And use keywords that accurately reflect the content of the page. So for example, if you have a page about technical SEO tips.
The URL should be something like website.com/technical SEO tips.
Exactly. That's much clearer and more user-friendly than something like website.com page site 12345.
Definitely. Okay, now let's talk about another tricky area: duplicate content. I know Google doesn't like it when the same content appears on multiple pages of a website, but how do we avoid that? Especially if we have like similar products or services.
Right, that's a common problem. But there's a handy tool called a canonical tag.
Canonical tag.
Yeah, it's a bit technical, but basically it's a way of telling search engines, hey, out of all these similar pages, this is the main one you should focus on.
So it's like a little flag that says, this is the original, this is the one I want you to rank.
Precisely. So for example, if you have a product that comes in different colors or sizes.
You would use a canonical tag to point all those variations back to the main product page.
Exactly. That way, you're not splitting your ranking power across multiple pages with essentially the same content.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I have a question that I see debated a lot online. Subdomains versus subfolders. What's the deal with those? Are subdomains better for SEO, or are subfolders the way to go?
That's a great question, and there's no easy answer. It really depends on the specific website and its structure. But here's the basic idea. Subdomains, like blog.website.com, are treated as separate entities by search engines.
So it's like having a little mini website attached to your main website.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. Subdomains can be good for branding. Like if you have a blog or a shop, you might want to put them on subdomains to give them their own distinct identity.
Right.
But the downside is that it can be harder to build authority and pass link juice from a subdomain back to your main domain.
Okay, so what about subfolders?
Subfolders like website.com/blog are seen as part of your main domain.
So it's all under one roof.
Exactly. And that means they can benefit more directly from the overall authority of your website. So in most cases, I recommend using subfolders unless you have a specific reason to use a subdomain.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk about something that always seems to make people's eyes glaze over: structured data.
I know. It sounds super technical, but it's really not that complicated once you get the hang of it, and it can be super helpful for SEO.
So break it down for us. What is structured data and why should we care?
Well, you know how when you search for something on Google, sometimes you see those fancy results with extra information like star ratings or prices?
Yeah, those are nice.
Well, those are often powered by structured data. It's basically a way of adding labels to your content so search engines can understand it better.
So instead of just seeing a plain blue link, we might see more information right there in the search results, which makes people more likely to click.
Exactly. And Google loves structured data because it helps them provide more relevant and informative search results.
Okay, but how do we actually implement structured data? Does it require, like, coding skills?
It can involve some code, but there are also tools and plugins that can make it easier. If you're using WordPress, for example, there are plugins like Yoast SEO and Rank Math that have built-in structured data features.
Oh, that's good to know. So even if we're not coding experts, we can still take advantage of structured data. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about something that can really hurt our SEO if we're not careful: broken links and 404 errors.
Ugh, yes. Those are definitely not fun.
So why are they such a big deal? I mean, it's just a broken link, right?
Well, imagine you're at a party and you see a sign that says delicious cake this way. But when you get there, it's just an empty table with a 404 cake not found sign. How would you feel?
I'd be pretty disappointed.
Exactly. And that's how your visitors feel when they encounter a broken link. It's a frustrating experience that can make them leave your site.
So it's bad for user experience.
Definitely. And it's also bad for SEO because it tells search engines that your website is not well maintained.
So how do we make sure our website is free of these broken link gremlins?
There are tools like Screaming Frog that can crawl your website and identify any broken links.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Screaming Frog.
It's great. It basically simulates what a search engine does, following all the links on your site to make sure they're working.
Okay, so once we've identified the broken links, what do we do?
Well, if the page no longer exists, you can either remove the link entirely or set up a 301 redirect to a relevant page.
A redirect.
Yeah, a 301 redirect tells the browser, hey, this page has moved permanently to this new location, and it passes on the SEO value from the old page to the new one.
Got it. So we're not just fixing the broken link, we're also making sure that the SEO value isn't lost. Okay, what about those dreaded 404 error pages? Can we do anything to make those less of a bummer?
Absolutely. Instead of just showing a generic error message, you can create a custom 404 page that's helpful and maybe even a little bit fun.
Oh, like a 404 page with a funny image or a witty message.
Exactly. You can also include a search bar so people can find what they're looking for and links to your most popular pages.
So instead of just being a dead end, the 404 page can actually help people stay on your site and find what they need. Awesome. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this section. We've talked about URL structure, duplicate content, subdomains versus subfolders, structured data, broken links, 404 errors. I feel like my technical SEO knowledge is expanding exponentially.
That's great to hear. But we're not done yet. There's still more to explore.
Wow, we've really covered a ton of ground in this deep dive into technical SEO. From crawling and indexing to site speed and security, and then all those nitty-gritty details like URL structure and structured data.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But, even if you just focus on making a few small improvements, it can make a big difference for your website.
Absolutely. You don't have to be a technical SEO wizard to make progress.
Right. It's like, you don't have to be a marathon runner to start going for walks and getting some exercise.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps.
Exactly. And there are so many resources out there to help you. Google has some great documentation on technical SEO,
Yeah.
and there are tons of blog posts and videos and even online courses.
Yeah, you can really find just about anything you need with a quick Google search.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are lots of SEO professionals out there who would be happy to guide you.
Definitely. Okay, so we know that technical SEO is important, but what's the big payoff? What are we ultimately trying to achieve here?
Well, one of the biggest benefits of technical SEO is that it can help you rank higher in search results.
Right, because ultimately we want more people to find our website. But with so many websites out there competing for those top spots, how do we make sure ours stands out?
Think of it like a popularity contest. The more popular your website is in the eyes of search engines, the higher it will rank.
So it's like getting votes from Google.
Exactly. And technical SEO is all about earning those votes by making your website a delightful experience for both users and search engines.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice? How do we create that delightful experience?
Well, it starts with the basics, making sure your website loads quickly, that it's easy to navigate, that it's secure, that it provides relevant, high-quality content.
So it's really about creating a website that people actually want to use.
Exactly. A website that's enjoyable to browse, easy to find the information you need, and that makes you feel confident that your data is safe.
And when users have a positive experience, that sends positive signals to Google, which can lead to higher rankings.
Precisely. It's a win-win.
So it all comes back to focusing on the user.
Mm,
If we create a website that people love, the SEO will naturally follow.
absolutely. That's the beauty of it.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of technical SEO. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm excited to start putting these tips into practice on my own website.
That's great to hear. And I'm always happy to help if you have any questions along the way.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. And to all of our listeners out there, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want to learn more about technical SEO and other digital marketing strategies, be sure to subscribe to our channel, Digital Hustle Studio, for more informative videos.
And don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful. We really appreciate your support.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time.